Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's meeting of the Berkeley County School Board. Can everyone hear me in the back? Mr. Husky, can you hear me back there? Do we need to turn it up any, or we're good? All right. I'm sure it's me. It absolutely is. I call the meeting to order. I declare that a quorum is present and that the media has been notified. So we'll move on to agenda item number 2. Do I have a motion and a second approving tonight's agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Schwabe. We have a motion from Mr. Wright, seconded by Mrs. Schwabe, to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Tonight's agenda has been approved. Now we'll have the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Board, we'll move now to agenda item number 4. This agenda item requires approval of the minutes from the Head Start training on March 24th, as well as our regular meeting of March 24th. If there is no opposition, I will accept a motion to approve both sets of minutes. Do I have, thank you, Mr. McQuillan. I'll accept that as a motion, and Ms. Walford, I'll accept that as a second. Thank you. A motion has been made by Mr. McQuillan to approve both the minutes of the Head Start training and regular meeting on March 24th. That motion was seconded by Mrs. Walford. All those in favor of approving the minutes as moved, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Both the minutes of the Head Start training and regular meeting of March 24th have been approved. Up next, we have Legacy Builders. Tonight, we have special recognition. I'll ask Miss Amy Murray to approach the podium, and Miss Murray will provide us with tonight's special recognition. The podium is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Dr. Thompson, and ladies and gentlemen of the board. Our first recognition tonight is Shannon Brennan, who is, of course, no ordinary senior at Goose Creek High School. She's the only female of 13 high school students in the Tri-County area who participates in the Greater Charleston Manufacturing Apprenticeship Program. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Shannon works a few hours at Cummins Turbo Technologies plant in Ladson. Then on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, she attends classes at Trident Tech for industrial mechanics. Clearly, Shannon is extremely busy. There are some perks, though. Shannon gets paid $10 an hour for her work at Cummins, and as she earns more academic credits, her wages grow too. By the time she finishes the 2-year program, she will have earned a journeyman certificate and an option to work at Cummins as a full-time employee with a starting salary of $21.50 an hour. That's a lot. That's a lot more than what I had at that time. So I'm just saying, wow. So what's more, the company will pay 80% of the cost if Shannon decides to further her education while at Cummins. Like I said before, Shannon is no ordinary high school senior, and we aren't the only ones who've noticed. Recently, she was recognized in an article by the School Superintendents Association, about her experience with the apprenticeship program. Shannon, you have an incredible work ethic. I am in awe of you myself. So for all of the things that we've mentioned, and even the things that we haven't yet, we want to recognize you tonight for all of your hard work. So at this time, would you please come forward to be recognized and receive this certificate?
I'd just like to say that, like with the STEM program at our high school and everything, it's really helped me, and with the CTE program as well, it kind of helped me get together like my thoughts on what I wanted to do. And what other 17-year-old girl do you know that has I got offered not only at Cummins when I finished my apprenticeship, but at 2 other manufacturing companies. Like the two of them start out around 50 and the other one starts out around 30. And so the STEM program really helps you figure out what you want to do, and the CTE program helps you get in there and actually figure out how to do it. So thank you guys.
You want to ask your mom to come be in the picture?
Mom, you want to come be in the picture?
This was your teacher years ago?
Yes, Mr. One of my teachers, one of my principals.
Maybe you need to get in the picture too, Charlie. Yeah. Second generation.
Mr. Jackson's a good phone holder.
Just touch it anywhere on the front. Oh, sorry, I have to zoom on. Do I need to zoom out?
Just zoom
Okay.
out.
Right, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you so much.
Congratulations, Sharon.
Good job.
Well done. Well done.
Next, we'd like to recognize some students who participated in the district's 4th annual Multiplication Bee. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the bee, students are chosen to participate based on their participation in their individual in-class and grade-level multiplication bees at their schools. Each of our primary, elementary, and intermediate schools sends a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade representative to participate in the bee. And during the competition, each student has just 45 seconds to answer as many multiplication facts as possible. No pressure, though. No pressure. The students with the highest number of correct responses is deemed the district winner for that grade level. Tonight, we have some participants with us. And when I call your name, would you please come forward to be recognized? And also, can I have Melissa Negreiros come up as well? Thank you, ma'am. She's the elementary math coordinator for the district. So, our first student, Amaya Ferguson, 4th grader at H.E. Bonner Elementary School. And our next student is Jaron Vega, 5th grader at Westview Elementary School. Next is Matthew Perricone from Cane Bay Middle School, 5th grader at Cane Bay Middle. And then we have Michelle Clark, 3rd grader from College Park Elementary School. She won the 3rd grade competition, and we'd like to present the 3rd grade trophy to her and Principal Prince.
Zooming in on the trick.
And I'd just like to say that the large trophies will be displayed in each school's display case, and each individual student received a medal and a certificate. And our last student is Terrion Melvin, a fifth grader from Sangre Intermediate School. Terrion's actually a second-time winner. He won the fourth grade title last year, and then this year he won the fifth grade title. And we'd like to present this particular trophy here to Terrion, and also Ms. Kelly Gebhardt, the curriculum coach at Sangre Intermediate.
Congratulations, Terrion.
And if possible, can we have all of the students come back to the front for a group picture, please?
Bring your trophy. Terrion, bring your trophy. We'll get your trophy.
It's almost as big as he is.
There's tallest thing.
Can I get you guys to get real close to each other like best friends? Yeah? Perfect, perfect. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Good. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Everyone's gonna Good job. Here.
And that concludes all of our special recognitions for tonight. And we'll be back at the board meeting at the end of the month with even more.
Congratulations, everyone. Those hours with flashcards at the kitchen table paid off. Well done. Well done. As we move towards citizen comments, if we have any visitors, now is a great time to exit because we're going to begin a very lengthy agenda tonight. Thank you all for being with us. All right, we'll get started. Next up is item 6, citizen comments. Prior to having the folks come up and comment, I'll read the citizens' comments procedures. First up is Ms. Pat Eckstein. Pat, if you want to go ahead and approach the podium as I read the citizen comment procedures. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding complaints against employees other than district-level executives or references to students other than the child of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And finally, the board chair reserves the right to allot additional time or halt public comments that do not adhere to these guidelines. First up is Pat Eckstein of Hanahan. She would like to discuss a meeting with the school board under the Open Public Meeting Act, the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Is that
Yes,
correct, Ms.
yes.
Eckstein? All right, the podium's yours. Welcome.
Thank you to you and all the members of the board. Following your email back to me of the request of our committee to meet with the board, Our Citizens Committee has agreed it would be a very good idea to meet in public, and we would ask you to have a public meeting with us, post a quorum for a notice, and we think, the meeting should be held in Hanahan. So we will follow up with a request to you saying, yes, we agree with you. We were mistaken, at least under school board policy and under the Public Information Act, for how you conduct your meetings. We've had several members who have contacted us who said that they would be willing to meet with us. So if we can hold it in open, we would be very happy to do that. We want to thank the members of the board for the meeting on March 10th, for Mr. McQuillan, Mr. Obie. I know Mrs. Moore isn't here, and Mrs. Wolford for voting on Contract 3 that had the deed restrictions in for all 4 schools in that contract offer. Thank you very much for the 4 votes there. I'm sorry Mrs. Moore isn't here tonight, but we'll be back in touch. The Citizens Committee for the new elementary school did meet with Dr. Thompson and Dr. Murray on March 4th. And we also had asked Dr. Thompson to please advise the rest of the board that we were meeting and that Mr. McQuillan, in fact, asked to attend the meeting. Several days had passed and he wasn't notified of it until the day before the meeting and was unable to attend. But at that meeting, Dr. Murray, you referred to a deed restriction for Daniel Island, and that sort of piqued our interest because that was contrary to the statement that Dr. Thompson made to the citizens of Daniel Island, that based on conversations and communications, it was understood that the 15+ acres donated was with the understanding grades K through 8 would be served in that facility. Citizens Committee then discovered how easy it was to search deeds and agreements online. And while there was no mention in the deed of the Daniel Island School being a K-8 school, the shared use agreement between the school district and the Daniel Island Association and the city of Charleston, it was there. It was mentioned 10 times K-8 school. We're sort of in a disbelief that the district attorneys or the paraprofessionals did not find the document to support the school district's decision to keep Daniel Island a K-8 school. We continued to investigate other deeds and agreements, and BCSD granted automatic enrollment rights for any future student who lives in the 9,000 acres of the Cane Hoy Plantation for the Philip Simmons K-8 school. As early as January, Dr. Thompson and City Administrator Johnny Cribb had hammered out a contract. It's our understanding that Dr. Thompson had board authorization to sign. And suddenly the board attorney was authorized to put a squash on it. The same deed restrictions that Mr. Bullwinkle had recommended in December 2013 to be included in the $1.4 million purchase of 8 to 10 acres at the Bowen site, all of a sudden were no longer valid for the purchase of the city property. We found it less than truthful when Mr. Bullwinkle said the district was buying the property from the city at full market value, however, admitted saying that it wasn't at residential value, it was at conservation preservation value, which is far less expensive. In a
Ms. Eckstein, what you're saying is very important, but your time's up. Could you summarize it into one sentence?
Sure. That's why we want to meet with you. We are concerned. Mrs. Schwabe's recent email that I will also hold out hope that we will build a new school in your area sort of triggered something with us that it sounded very familiar to Mr. Cooper's comments about moving the school to Min Riv. You told one of our committee members last Friday the board was looking for other opportunities and you had found something and were negotiating with a private landowner. We find that difficult when Connie Myers was at the last city council meeting where the city council authorized a new contract to be drawn and to be presented to you. So everything has been done in bits and spurts over the last 18 or so months. This is the 3rd site for the school. It needs to be built. You gave Daniel Island the opportunity to recommend the Cainhoy K-8 school to alleviate overcrowding. We need the same thing in Hanahan, and we are no less deserving of your consideration and for the ability to talk to you all directly or individually. It doesn't matter to us. The only reason we said less than a quorum was in order to be able to speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eckstein. Next up is Mr. William Healy. He would like to talk about the Hanahan School and representative. Here you go, Mr. Healy. Podium is yours, sir.
Thank you. Board members, residents of Berkeley County, and guests, first I need to tell you these are my personal comments and do not have anything to do with me being on the Hanahan Citizens Committee. Well, here we are again, but I'm even more disappointed with some members of the school board than ever before. We were so close. In fact, the Friday before the last school board meeting, we looked like we were all in agreement, but lo and behold, the board decided to do their own thing again. In fact, on Friday, the week before the board meeting, 2 representatives from the Hanahan Citizens Committee mediated and witnessed a meeting between Dr. Thompson and John Cribb, the Hanahan City Administrator, to settle in principle on the terms. They came to an agreement, and the superintendent sent the terms to their lawyer to have them reflected in a new contract. That contract was option 3, and yes, your lawyer went along the flip-flop principle and came up with his own version called 3A. By the way, did I tell you they never mentioned it to the city before the vote? Why the flip-flop principle? Easy. First for it, then against it. We've seen that too many times. What was good enough for other building and land projects is not good enough for Hanahan. If you don't believe me, read the deed restrictions for some of the other recent acquisitions of land, which I have with me, and you can see for yourselves. Your nonsense of not creating a precedent is a little absurd and doesn't hold water at all anymore. You are just deceiving the taxpayers of Berkeley County. I'm very sorry to say this, but it's no longer just an integrity issue, but now you have gone way into the morality issue of truth. I told you months ago that half a lie is still a lie. I'm actually tired of saying the same things, but how can a board send in a representative and disregard findings every time? You make recommendations, demands for the contract, and change your minds. You guys are like the wind changing direction at whim. You want to manage via the bully pulpit, and I find that rather reprehensible both as a taxpayer and resident of Berkeley County. Your deception of wanting this to happen is outrageous and egregious offense to the common sense of the taxpayers and voters who placed you into office. You have set up your contract so that you will never be penalized for breaking it. The question then becomes, did you ever plan on living to the statement that all Hanahan students go to Hanahan schools? I feel this was just a ploy for re-election and the bond referendum. Theodore Roosevelt said, "We cannot afford to differ on the question of honesty if we expect our republic permanently to endure. Honesty is not so much a credit as an absolute prerequisite to efficient service to the public. Unless a man is honest, we have no right to keep him in public life. It matters now not how brilliant his capacity." Another reprehensible act is when Dr. Murray blatantly and defiantly challenged Mrs. Moore's vote on option 3. If that didn't prove a setup, I don't know what does. In my personal opinion, you owe Mrs. Moore an apology here at the board meeting. Dr. Murray, you were placed in this position by the voters of Hanahan as the representative, but you threw them under the bus by being the vote that made the motion people wanted fail. You also were the one that got your allies on the board to vote against it. Instead, you wanted option 3A that had no teeth. Why would you turn on the people who placed you into office is beyond me. In fact, this is not the first time. Remember the parents as coaches. Dr. Murray, it's time that you seriously look at your position on the board. You should be working with the mayor of Hanahan and the taxpayers and voters of Hanahan, and not just sitting on a sideline. The few times you met with the Citizens Committee was appreciated, but seems to be confusing as to why you say one thing and vote another. Regardless, it's time you either step up to the plate and support the city of Hanahan or resign your position on the board. Taxpayers deserve a person who lives to their word and consistently works with his constituents and officials in the city he or she says they represent. Your actions to date does not lead me to believe that you have the best for Hanahan. Dr. Murray, either step up or step out. It's time.
Mr. Healy, your time's, in closing, go ahead.
In closing, I ask the board to revote on option 3 and do the correct action. I know you will say you can, but you know where there's a will, there is a way. Remember, real leadership is all about servanthood. Put the interest of others at the center of your decisions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Healy. Up next is Mrs. Wright. I want to make sure I pronounce your first name right. I'll call you Mrs. Wright then. All right. Mrs. Wright is from Moncks Corner, South Carolina. She would like to discuss what is the purpose of the delay call when a child is absent from school. Is that correct,
Yes.
Ms. Wright? Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Wright, the podium's yours.
All right, first of all, I would like to address the school board. I know it's going to take I know you give us 3 minutes. You can't see her right now, but this is Caitlin Wright. Friday,
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Friday I received a phone call after dropping my child off to your school at Whitesfield Elementary at 6:50. I received a phone call at 10:20 stating that my baby wasn't in your school. I don't know of any parent that gets that call and their world doesn't end. As a soldier of 22 years in the military, I'd rather get a call telling me to go back to Iraq right now than for somebody to call me and tell me that my child is not where I expect her to be. For 8 hours of the day, I expect you to keep my child safe. I got her for the rest of those times. And when I drop her off to you and you tell me that she's not in your care, you've lost my trust. You've really lost my trust. I looked up on the DOJ and it states that 76% of the children that are abducted are murdered within the first 3 hours. 60% of those children who are abducted, the police don't even get notified from the time they're missing to 2 hours. As a soldier for 22 years, I've traveled in and out of this state. It takes 2 hours and 42 minutes to get out of this state. You call me 3 hours and 20 minutes after I drop my baby off. So trust me and believe. All I can think of is someone, after I dropped her off, a teacher taking her out of the car, watching her walk towards that school, that somebody took my baby. Can you, as a parent, whoever's on the school board, understand what I felt? Have you ever gotten that phone call that your child is not where they're supposed to be? Have you? Then you can only imagine how I felt to find my 37.2-pound child to be told that she's not where she's supposed to be. She's 6. She'll be 7 on the 30th. And I thought someone took her from me. I was petrified. My world ended. I called the school. They clicked me off. That made me mad. After I called back, they passed me on to someone else. From the time they passed me on to someone else, couldn't find the principal. The principal couldn't find my child. It was 10 minutes. That 10 minutes felt like years. You guys can't be waiting 3 hours to call us after the 7:20 bell rings. What will make y'all think that that's a good system? I'm telling you now, sir, it's not. I just came from having 2 other children. They're 26 and 21. And trust and believe, if they were not in school, I got a call an hour after they were supposed to be there. Not by an electronic computer, but by a personnel from the school. Miss Wright, Zavon is not in class. Do you know where he's at? Oh, I don't, but I will know. That's me telling you I got this. But when you call me by a automated system, you can't hear in my voice that I'm petrified that my child is missing. You can't understand the fact that she's not where she's supposed to be. She is 6. She depends on the school to take care of her for 8 hours. That's all I ask of you. If y'all can't do that, tell me now, and I will get certified to teach her at home. I don't want to get out of the military and take care of you guys, and then y'all can't take care of her. Let me know now if I need to move on to another school system. If I came to Mounts Corner, I don't know not a single soul in Mounts Corner. I only came here because of the district, because of the school district. I looked it up before I got here. This is supposed to be the best school district in South Carolina. And this is what I get after 2 years. I'm starting to understand that maybe you guys are not as good as you say you are. So please, for God's sake, change your system. Ms. Levine said that her son absentee don't get called until 6 p.m. I'm looking at him. I don't need you to call me at 6 p.m. I need you to call me when he's not there. Let me rectify the situation then. Because I talked to some of the parents. They would say that y'all were doing this since they were children. And when they were children, they just came home and deleted the message. And then you go ahead and say, well, you haven't had your child in the school system. Stop with the 6 p.m. Stop with the 5 p.m. Stop with the talk on 3 p.m. I can't do it.
Right.
I cried a lot that day,
Sure.
not knowing whether my child was there or not. That was the longest 10 minutes of my life. Change your system.
Ms. Wright, we hear you loud and clear. We were not aware of this situation until you told us tonight.
He was aware.
And I
He was
guarantee
aware.
you that we will see that this is looked into. If we've got a problem, it has to be corrected.
It has to be corrected.
Because when
And
you
then
drop your child off in our care, we are responsible.
But the main thing, sir, is they talk to you as if you're
ma'am.
insignificant.
And that's not acceptable either.
It surely is not, because the same way y'all are voted in,
We can be
same way
voted
y'all are
out.
voted out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, not just for my child, because if this situation, this scenario had went differently, I hate to say what I said then, but I would not be a good Ms. Wright to speak to right now.
Well, Ms. Wright, Dr. Thompson, I would think that you would be in touch with her personally tomorrow to determine what took place and to ensure that
I know what
it
took
doesn't
place.
take place again.
We know.
They said that the teacher didn't see or hear her. How? That is not a good answer for me. That is not a good answer.
Please allow us the opportunity to look into this and discover what we need to do better, because we can't let this happen again.
You surely
Obviously.
can. I got a bad ticker. I need.
And Ms. Wright, I didn't know about this tonight, but clearly, as a representative of this board, we owe you an apology. And we will do all we can to
You don't
ensure
just
this.
owe me an apology. You owe my Squirt apology.
Miss who?
Well, I
Squirt?
call her my Nonny Bear.
Nonny Bear? Nonny Bear, we are sorry that what took place with you took place. And we're going to look into it to make sure that no one's Nonny Bear ever has to experience this again. And so I apologize to you too. That means I'm sorry.
Do you
Okay.
accept his apology?
Thank you, Nonny Bear. Miss Wright, we will be in touch with you tomorrow.
You can just change the system.
Yes, ma'am. Well, now that we're aware, we will act. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Thompson, you'll be contacting her tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with you tomorrow. I know you've talked with some of our staff members, and we know what you
I called
want.
your deputy that same day, like several times, and she wasn't there, but she didn't have something on her recording to tell me to call a different person.
I know I became aware, and they gave me the two people that you talked to, so I'm aware of the situation, and we're going to do our best to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. All right, that concludes tonight's citizen comments. We'll now move to agenda item number 7. That's entitled Deputy Superintendent. Dr. O'Gorman, tonight you have an item for action. There you are, sir. That item for action is entitled The First Reading of Textbook Adoptions for 2015-2016, Grades 2 through 5 Cursive Writing, Grade 6 Social Studies, Grade 7 Social Studies, Agricultural Education, and Economics. That's a lot, Dr. O'Gorman.
Yes, sir.
The microphone is yours, sir.
Well, you pretty much stole all my thunder, Dr.
Well,
Murray.
hey, I yield to you.
Dr. Murray, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Murray just read, we've got quite a few textbooks up for adoption. These are district-wide adoption. They're across the entire district. Just as an FYI, the State Department works with vendors to put these textbooks out in the public. We've got teacher representatives from every school to go and view what they call the caravan as they travel around the state. Those folks go back to the school, share the textbooks and their concepts with their teachers, and then they come back and have a vote. So if you look at the bottom of your handout there, you'll see the actual publications that the teachers have decided on. These books are also located in the back of the room. You're welcome to look at those as they are up for review after the first reading tonight. So again, 2nd through 5th grade cursive writing, 6th grade social studies, 7th grade social studies, agricultural education textbook adoption. There are a couple of different levels of that actual course there, and then district economics. I submit the publications in your document for first reading.
Thank you, Dr. O'Gorman. Do we have a motion and a second regarding the administration's recommendation for agenda item 7?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the first reading of the textbook adoptions for 2015-16 as submitted by administration and agenda item 7.
Thank you, Mrs. Schwabe. Mr. Hayes has made a motion. That motion was seconded by Mrs. Schwabe. Prior to asking if we have any discussion regarding the motion on the table, I will repeat it for the record. Again, this is the motion for agenda item 7. A motion has been made to approve the first reading of textbook adoptions for 2015-2016 as submitted by the administration in agenda item 7. Do we have any discussion?
I just have one question.
Ms. Schwabe, I'll come back to you, Ms. Schwabe.
Dr. O'Gorman, have we had a cursive writing book all along?
We've had supplemental materials in our curriculum. The last book adoption for cursive writing was quite some time ago.
Like in 1950?
2.
So this is every student will be issued one of these in those grades?
It's in our curriculum for grades 2nd through 5th.
Second. Does that conclude your comments, Ms. Schwabe? All right, Ms. Walford?
So the children who haven't had cursive 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, they'll pick them up in 5th grade and teach them cursive, or?
Good question.
We've been teaching to have a 4th grader who can't write in cursive.
Cursive is currently in our curriculum. The textbook is new.
Okay.
So we've had supplemental materials. This is just the first time this textbook has been adopted recently.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the motion on the table. We've already stated it for the record. All those in favor of the motion by Mr. Hayes, seconded by Mrs. Schwabe, to accept the administration's recommendation, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Dr. O'Gorman, 8-0. That motion carries unanimously. The administration's recommendation has been adopted for its first reading.
Thank you, sir. And I just have one more
Yes, sir.
information item. This is confusing. It makes my head hurt. There are different times in which the textbook caravan is open. ELA grades 9 through 12 went up for adoption last year, but it was not funded. We went through this process, made a selection, but that wasn't funded. So now it is back up. It looks like it's going to be funded this year. It's in a different window than this current adoption. Although we've been through the process, the ELA books that we chose last year were adopted under Common Core standards. Now that we know we have new standards coming, we have the option to go back and revisit that adoption, which we are planning to do, and we'll bring a recommendation next board meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. O'Gorman. Thank you very much. Up next is agenda item number 8, Financial Services, Mr. Brantley Thomas. Tonight, Mr. Thomas has 2 items for action, BVB 438 and BVB 444. And Mr. Thomas, I know we want to get to the items for action, but I had an opportunity to have a great experience with you today. Could you tell us a little bit about what you accomplished for the taxpayers of Berkeley County today?
Yes, Dr. Murray, and you may wait?
I'm stealing his thunder.
You want me to
Could
wait?
you wait till the superintendent?
Okay, that's fine.
I'll withdraw the question.
I'm totally fine.
It's fine, Mr. Thomas, go ahead and share.
No, no,
the
you go
news.
ahead. We'll wait till the superintendent's report. How about that?
No, I'd rather you share the
Okay,
news. And-
all right.
and
Well, we'll see if the
appre-
stories are
and
the
we're
same. How about that?
appreciative.
Yeah, we'll see if the stories are the same.
So,
And I would just say we're appreciative of Berkeley Independent printing that story as well.
Okay.
They've been fantastic, yes.
Earlier this year, we, we constantly watch our outstanding debt bonds that we have on the books. And 2003 and 2006, we issued installment revenue purchase bonds in the par amount of $206 million and then $89 million. There's a 10-year call period in which you can't do anything with those bonds until 10 years, then you can start looking at refunding opportunities. So 2013 comes along, we were able to refund those bonds for a gross savings of about $27 million, which included the termination of the forward delivery agreement, which was an investment agreement with some $20 million in it to pay the last principal and interest payment. Same thing with the $89 million for 06. Smaller amount, but we had about $9.5 million in the forward delivery agreement. So we were able to defease that or terminate that. And with the combination of interest savings and the termination of that forward delivery agreement, we were able to save in gross savings about $18.4 million. And we also reduced the term of the bonds by 2 years. Remember, y'all asking me that question. With the rates, we were able to terminate or reduce it by 2 years. So instead of 2031, I won't be here, but somebody else will be here talking about it, to 2028 or so. So a good experience. The bond rating companies were very, proactive in helping us with that rating. We got a rating upgrade from Standard & Poor's, which we've talked about that as well. So today was a busy day with the attorney, going to the nonprofit board over at Santee Cooper, and then to you at Hanahan Middle, and to College of Charleston for Kathy, and then back to Jack Williams to get him to go to the county to record the deeds. So very busy day.
Mr. Thomas,
yeah.
thank you so
I
much.
just want to add
Yeah.
the rate went from 5.5 to
Yeah.
3.4.
At 3.0, yeah.
And that
Mhm.
was a result probably of our credit rating being
Yes,
improved.
mhm. Yeah, so we're able to shave about 2% off the
That's
total, average rate.
result
So
of good
Good
policy decisions
yeah,
of the board.
very good. So,
Mr. Thomas, please don't ever leave us. Please do not ever leave us. You're worth your weight in
Well,
gold.
2028, I'm not sure I can promise
I
that.
understand. I'm with you on that. Way to go, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. The first item for action is best value bid number 438 for parking lot and driveway seal coating and stripping. This was a capital improvement item, and we'll be using Bonner Elementary, I believe, as the first project in that. And we'd like to award that bid to Right Line Seal Coating for estimated value of $6,760. And we'll use it for other projects.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Do I have a motion and a second regarding the administration's recommendation of agenda item 8A?
Mr. Chair, you do. I make a motion to approve BBB 438, 1415 for parking lot and driveway seal coating and striping services to Right Line Seal Coating and Striping Incorporated for an estimated cost of $6,760 as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance Agenda Item 8A.
Thank you, Ms. Schwabe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Walford. A motion has been made by Mrs. Schwabe, seconded by Mrs. Walford to accept the recommendation of the administration. For the record, a motion was made to approve best value bid 438 for 1415 for parking lot and driveway seal coating and striping services to Right Line Seal Coating and Striping Incorporated for an estimated cost of $6,760 as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance Agenda Item 8A. Do we have any questions or comments regarding this motion? Ms. Dobie?
Yeah, one question. This is just for Bonner Elementary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one school?
Yes, and they'll show up on capital improvements, and we use the same bid as we move forward. So, but this is just for Bonner Elementary.
Just for Bonner Elementary?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So we'll have to approve other schools if they go to other schools?
Yes, through the capital improvements process or whatever, yeah.
All right, is that good, Mr. Dobie? All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion regarding agenda item 8A, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously 8-0. Mr. Thomas, best value bid 438 has been approved.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item 8B.
Is our best value bid 444 for generating, testing, maintenance, and repair. This is actually a new bid, but we were wanting to be proactive on the generators that we have in service now. One, to extend their useful life, but also to be ready in times of emergency. So we've gone out and procured that item, and it's for an definite delivery contract, so we don't know really how much it's going to cost, but we'd like to award that to Power Pro Tech Services out of Florida.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. You've heard the recommendation from the administration regarding agenda item 8B, best value buy 444. Best value bid 444. Do we have a motion and a second regarding this item?
Mr. Chair, you do. I make a motion to approve BBB 444 for generator testing, maintenance, and repair to Power Pro Tech Services Incorporated as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance Agenda Item 8B.
Thank you, Mrs. Schwabe. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Motion was made by Mrs. Schwabe, seconded by Ms. Lee, to accept the administration's recommendation regarding best value bid 444. For the record, that was a motion to approve BVB 444 for generator testing, maintenance, and repair to Power Protect Services Incorporated as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance Agenda Item 8B. Do we have any comments or questions regarding Agenda Item 8B? Ms. Walford, are you asking? Yeah, Ms. Walford?
So are we maintaining generators that we own, or is it yes?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Or is it for like portable generators in a like storm situation?
It's, generators that we own, which I believe we do have some portable ones, right?
They're all built into the
Yep,
three of them.
right.
We have one at Cambridge High School that runs emergency lights.
Oh, yeah.
We have one at Cambridge Middle School that runs the fire pump in case of emergency. And we have one at Stratford now for the stadium lighting. That's a new code issue. So any new stadiums we build or replace lighting, we have to have a generator run those emergency lights.
Okay.
And we have a generator at Monroe running.
That's serviced by San
That's right. I forgot about that. That's right. Yep. Thank you, Philip, for doing that.
And just,
You know that, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
and I would just say, some of our schools have the capability for a generator to be brought in from the state in an emergency
For
situation.
emergency, that's what I was trying to understand, if we were subsidizing emergency, like shelters, or if it was generators that we
This is for the ones we own.
own. Okay.
All right. Ms. Dobie?
So we don't have, so those ones we bought, we bought outright. We didn't coordinate with the local power companies to have them put them in and maintain them.
That I don't know that answer to. Connie, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ms.
they got-
Dobie, would you repeat that? Because I want to learn from you.
So usually the power companies are going to put them in and put like a switch on the other side, so in case the power does go out, it doesn't switch on and backfeed the line, which could cause some injury or some death to some linemen that are working on the line. So I take it we've got all that safety equipment in?
We don't have generators that we run up at school, we just put them in
Or fire
or the fire pump, or the
They're just
emergency lighting station. They're very small generators, so they're only isolated to we couldn't feed the whole school.
Right, but those circuits will still be, can they still be disabled from the wires coming in so they don't backfeed? I mean, I understand, it couldn't power the whole school.
Connected, so they can't back.
Okay.
All right. Is that, has everybody had an opportunity to speak? We will call the motion. All those in favor of the motion made regarding Agenda Item 8B to accept the administration's recommendation for best value bid 444, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Thomas, your Agenda Item 8B has been approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Now for the budget update.
First of all, thank you, Connie. You're asking questions way above my pay grade. I don't understand any of that stuff.
Well, now you know how it feels to be in a room with you
Yeah.
and a bond attorney.
But a couple of quick stories about today. I woke up, actually, I must have fallen asleep with my glasses on. So I woke up and they were all kind of mangled up. And so I probably should have started the budget. The numbers looked actually better when it was all messed up, so I got them fixed. Secondly, we were talking about the bond closing today, and we're walking out of Ms. Swaby's office into the parking garage, and either they need to get the weight adjusted, or I've got to lose some weight, but the arm actually opened up. So that was a bad sign. I think they need to get the weight adjusted on the thing.
It's a mistake, Mr.
It was a
Thomas.
mistake.
It's clearly a mistake.
But they let me park for free because of that.
Park in a compact space.
Huh? Yep.
Well, you've got us prepared now. Give
I
us
got
some
you
bad
prepared.
news.
Can I go ahead and an 8-0 vote on the budget and be done with it? Y'all good with that? All right, y'all ready?
Yes.
Charlie, want to kill the lights? All right. This is, I think, our first really iteration of the look of the budget for next year. And there's still a lot of moving parts related to county assessments, related to state Senate meetings and those kinds of things. The Senate is usually a little bit more generous to the school district, so we're hoping that that will happen. So we'll show you a slide that I'm using to talk to some of the legislators about that, and hopefully they'll see it our way. But these are some meetings that have happened and some that will happen during the budget season with a June 2nd to 4th kind of deadline. We will, as we've done in the past, have a public hearing, usually the last budget meeting in June, and we'll do a two-week window advertising and have a public hearing, and then actually go into general session to vote on the budget. So wanted to kind of share some of those dates with you. Budget update tonight. In the past, we've gone to schools, and I'm hoping to have maybe one or two more on this list, but these are the ones that I've been able to secure as of today. So we'll be going to these schools on these different days, and if you're interested, I'll send you the times, and you're welcome to come. I'm sure Marrington Elementary is going to want me to come to their music program, so I'm going to be really fast. Lauren, right? Okay, good. These are just some general state budget updates. The governor's base funding and Ways and Means. We did see a good increase of $100 to $22.20 on the base student cost, but that is at the relation of some K-5 and 6-8 lottery money, which is about $1 million switch. So some of that is revenue growth, and some of that is mirrors as far as budget coming from the state. So we'll be losing that money, so some of that will have to go in the general fund. So we're working out how to be able to fund that. We may be able to do that for 1 year without impacting the general fund, but moving forward, 16, 17, we may not be able to. So if the budget had not had its shortfalls in the down years of 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it was, we should be at 2790. So if that were the case, we would have about 18 to 19 million new dollars to actually fund education for Berkeley County schools alone. So that would make it a lot easier, but we would also have increased costs over that time, but we would be in a lot better place, I believe. So we hope the state will see its way to get there faster than it is now. So anyway, I wanted to kind of talk through that a bit. It's kind of hard to read, and I should have made a copy of the handout, but this is the July to February Budget and Control Board report to Board of Economic Advisors. And the bottom number of the July to February report from last year, same period, to this year, same period, is $260 million to the good. So we're hoping that they will see their way to use some of that extra revenue to fund education a little bit more than they are now. So we're, and I'm on a listserv to get this every single month, so I'm getting those and watching those. And it's actually about a 60-page report or so, so there's a lot of other charts and stuff in that, but it's pretty interesting reading if you like that kind of stuff. So, but they're good signs. This is, first time we've ever seen this kind of growth in a while in the state revenue side of the thing. So I'm happy to see that. Just some other details about the budget that we kind of talked about. Lottery money about for bus purchases, instructional materials, and technology. There was some money in there for technology for this year, reoccurring. There was a bond bill for K-12 initiatives and for tech schools. The House, I believe, has defeated that, and it may get revisited in the Senate, so we'll see if we benefit from that if it gets back into the budget.
Brantley, just so everyone understands on that last slide, that is statewide funding, not Berkeley County.
That is statewide funding, yes, right. 94 million would be good, but it's not ours. Non-recurring for vocational equipment that TANA uses, and then some EI for, these are increases, but EI for professional development and some other things. And again, we're talking about the K-5 and 6-8 lottery money being swapped, and just some SDE money that they receive for CDEP. Potential revenue. This is a slide we kind of talk about every year. Every year since Act 388 of 2007, the state implemented a 1-cent sales tax for property tax relief on your home. If you own your home, you get the school operations completely netted out of that bill. So we receive about $36 million a year from the three sources of property tax relief from the state. For next year, they're estimating, based on population and CPI, of about $909,000 for our school district alone. So that is something we can count on. Act 388 millage is what we've talked about in the past. Act 388 also allows for school boards throughout the state to increase their millage by the CPI and population growth as a matter of operations, and been able to fund things without any sort of vote, other outside the board vote if you're fiscally independent. So based on those ratios for next year, we're able to increase the mills by 5.5 mills, or about 2.6 million based on assessments that I know of at this time. And that's only on non-homes. That's on, all the 6% vehicles and those kinds of things. Increase in the base student cost of about 3.4 million. That's at $100 a student growth. With, again, the lottery money being infused into that 3.4 million. So really net growth of about 2.4 because of that million that's going to go off the books and on the other side. We're looking at enrollment growth projections for K-12. The 135-day report will estimate a number there based on what that number is. So we're able to get about $1,650 per student for serving them for 135 days. So if you were to multiply that by 1,000, whatever, you would get that, $1.6 million or whatever it is for a year. So we'll kind of watch that number, but that'll be something we can infuse into the revenue, but we'll also have to infuse salaries for growth for teachers to serve those children that are coming in. And we've had this on the list, technology fee for students that we could possibly use. This is new from before. This is something either I knew and forgot about, or didn't know and never did know, but I was talking to some of my peers over the last 3 or 4 months and learned that Act 388 millage has also a catch-up provision where we can actually look back for the 3 previous years of millage that we left on the table of not enacting Act 388. So I am doing that spreadsheet, looking at our mills and what the 3 years letters from the Board of Economic Advisors allowed us to do, and making that calculation. So there's a potential of some being able to add on mills because of that on top of the 5.5 that we'd be able to do for 15 and 16. So I've actually let some attorneys look at it, and I'm actually going to send my spreadsheet to the county administrators to see, there's an expert there that kind of knows about that, because the counties have used this. There's been no school district using it, but there are some discussions this year throughout the state allowing that to do that. This is a critical year in deciding to do this or not, because the further out year, the first year, 11, 12, we left 8 mills on the table. And so we might be able to recap those, but if we don't do that this year, those go off the table, and we'll never be able to go back and consider those. So this is a critical year to decide to do this or not do this, or some level of this. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It'll be something we'll discuss further and see where it goes. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And when I'm comfortable with the spreadsheet, I'll share that maybe at the next meeting and what that might could do for us. So 1 mill brings about $480,000 to us. So if we were able to do 10 mills, that would be $4.8 million. So I'm going to make an analogy to another slide when I get to that about that number. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Is that a new amendment, or was it part
No,
of the
it
original
was
law?
actually in the law in 2007. And like I said, it's either something I knew and I forgot about, or I didn't even period know about it. So so now I do, and now I have to share it with you. So, but again, it came out up at the right time because of that that year that's getting ready to go off the books after this year. So at least I found out at the right time.
Good, good.
Expenditure unknowns, these are things that we kind of try to plan for in the budget process through just what we know happened over the years as far as increase in health insurance. It's always been a double-digit increase for health insurance. As those prices are going up or costs are going up, they're passing those on to the employee and employer. 1% on the employer side cost us $210,000. So if there's a 10% increase in health insurance, that's a $2 million ticket that I have to put in there to figure out how to make that happen. So cost of living due to legislative action, which they have not done or considered, so I don't think that will be something we have to consider. But we do have to consider the mandatory step, and so that's what that is in there for. That's that going from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 10 to 11, wherever you are on the salary schedule. So that's worth an average of about 2%. So that 2%, we'll see in another slide, costs a good bit of money for us, and majority of our budgets is salaries and fringe benefits, 85% of it. So that's where the majority of the costs are going up, is in that category. And then, of course, I talked about the increase in the students. As far as revenue, we'll have an increase in classroom teachers due to growth, so that will get eaten up. It won't be an even swap. It'll be more cost than revenue, more than likely, but it will be able to hopefully net out some. This is a slide that's kind of new to us, and we wanted to kind of share a 3-year perspective or 2-year perspective and projected amount of where the federal budget, Office of Federal Programs, Title I, and other restricted state programs managed by Office of Federal Programs in East Laning, and also special services managed by Kelly Wolf's office. And these are not only federal funds, but they are state restricted funds that are managed by, at risk, and those kinds of things that are managed by Denise, and then in Kelly's area, the maintenance of effort and those kinds of things. Prior to this year, what has saved us really in special ed is the stimulus money, if you remember that, when we were down in 1995 levels of state funding. The feds came up with the federal stimulus package, and there was a lot of discussion whether that's going to be, infrastructure like bridges or whatever. It finally came into helping education, or some of it did. And that's, remember our governor was sued, the state Supreme Court made him take it.
Yeah.
And so prior to these years, we actually had, I don't remember, Kelly, was it 2 or 3 million in special ed? Yeah, about 2.5 million in special ed, so Title I had about the same or maybe more. And we were able to use that, carry some over to kind of, help in the following year. So that's actually off the table, but you can see a tremendous drop in special ed from, over $2 million over those 3 years, or 2 years in the projected. So the federal budgets are being impacted, which has to be put into consideration when we're figuring out the general fund budget as well. So we just wanted to share that perspective with you. Hopefully you read this. This is just the assessments at reassessment time. These are the personal property, which includes homes and 6% property, apartments and those kinds of things, rental places, of $579 million, or about 62.6% growth in assessment from the prior year. These are the numbers I don't have updated from the county. There may be some growth in this area in which I might be able to recognize some revenue in this on the 6% side. But all this does help on the debt service side, enable to pay the debt, and also create some capacity for capital improvements and those kinds of things. This slide is the vehicles, manufacturing, utilities, and you can kind of see 2004 new assessments of $187 million for those categories, the 6% categories and other categories. I do throw a little depreciation there, just kind of, playing safe with that, but generally we get closer to the total assessment, so I'm able to recognize more money than what the new net assessment is. But when you put the total assessment of this number with the total assessment for 6% property, the value of the mill is about $480,000 for the general fund per mill. On the debt side, it's worth about 755 million, or 755,000 for the debt side, because you're able to capture that on that side. This is the slide, if you remember, I was talking about the catch-up mills. And of that 4.8 million or so, if we were able to go up 10 mills or whatever the mills are for the catch-up part of it. This is a slide that talks about Pre-Act 388. And say, for example, our assessed value of 4% is $283 million. Our property mills is 142.9. We calculate that we could receive, if we're able to tax all that property, $40,500,000. You take away the property tax relief of those three numbers, 7.8, which was enacted in 1995. Tier 2, which is homestead, I believe, 1.8, which was enacted a long time ago. And then Tier 3, which is Act 388, which was enacted in 2007. You add all those up together, you get 36 million. So we're, on an annual basis, $4.5 million short per year, starting last year, this year, and moving forward. As those assessed properties go up, that number grows, if they don't do something with Act 388. So we wish they would. We know they're not. But they have given us some avenues to correct it with that catch-up clause there. So I wanted to share with you that actually would offset what we'd be able to do in the catch-up phase if we were able to, if we were wanting to use that prerogative.
Yeah, but hasn't the when they enacted those acts, but especially Act 388, weren't there other provisions in there to make up that revenue loss?
They don't do it.
Yes, but
So we're not negative the whole $36 million. We know the 1% sales tax hasn't quite done what they said it was going to do.
The state is actually short about 125 million to 270 million a year, and actually being able to fund that. So guess what? They have to take it from somewhere else, and education is the biggest percentage of the pie, so it's got to come from there. They say it doesn't, but you know it has to somewhere. But we could actually, Philip, receive 40 million, so it's really not making up. They said it would, but it's not, and so it's if they were, we wouldn't have a problem, I don't think. So
you think we're out the entire 36?
No, we're out that 4.5 million. The number at the bottom that's in the red per year.
Okay.
So previous years that number was lower because 4% property was less value. It's growing as more homes are built in this county. I don't think you get it, Phil. Do you understand it?
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay, call me if you don't.
What's the status of the South Carolina jet legislation?
There's a slide in there. I'm going to
Okay.
send you to the links of that. I've been part of that discussion for 5 or 6 years on committees and whatever. We're glad to see it finally get some legs. Berkeley County would be a huge winner of some 20-something million plus. But there would be some other things that would have to be given up, and some funds that we are getting would have to be moved into the general fund, but it would be overall a win for us and be able to fund what we want to. But there are also losers, and so that's where it's going to more than likely die until they can figure out a way to, hold harmless. They'll do hold harmless, but then that takes away from the total pie already as well. So, and the Beauforts and those kinds of things, it's going to be a problem to get that, and they've got a lot of influence. So I'd like to see it happen. I like the concept of it because it's a state standard millage rate. And for example, Hampton, a very poor district whose assessment value is maybe $15,000 a mill, and if they have a truck that's worth $15,000, they're paying 3 times as much tax on that truck than we're paying here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the quality of that is good. So I like the concept. There's probably some things that they need to work out to get it there. But we do have a sponsor for it, and we'll see where it goes. So.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Where is the lottery money going that's taken away from? I noticed before you said that lottery money was gone, and then maybe you said it was mirrors. I'm thinking smoke and mirrors. Where did the lottery money go?
Well, if you remember when lottery was put into place, there was a lot of discussion about, well, why y'all, always saying you can't do stuff. Well, most of the lottery money is going to
Higher
tuition for college.
Higher education.
Which in 4 years, my daughter will hopefully get some of that. But most of it's going to that. But over the years, they've used it to retrofit or upfit the state library, or the state library or something like that, or new technology for that. That was like 18-something million. They do new buses, which does help, So the education really gets a small portion, K-12 education gets a really small portion of that. And with this going away, they're basically taking pretty much everything that we get from the lottery away for K-12, other than buses, which we indirectly benefit from. So,
And that's the education lottery you're referring
yes,
to?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And, when that started, we would go into, and I buy lottery tickets, so in case I could retire, I don't know. But you go into, things and people complain or say, I don't know why you're complaining you can't do stuff because you get all that lottery money, and we really don't.
It's a very misconception. People think that you're getting lots of money.
A lot of us live in that area, so last year I think we only got about $1.5 million in total lottery money. Now it's pretty much all that's getting gone. So, did that help?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is just a table of student growth. We got the 135-day for K-12 of 31,398, so that's a 646 student change from the prior 135-day. The total K-12 plus pre-K was 32,000 something. I've got the number. But anyway, that was a little bit higher than 646 increase, but 32,460 from 31,702 from the previous year. So, and that's the discussion about need for new facilities and growth and being able to serve students in the classroom. So, wanted to share that. That will be a discussion about recognizing new revenue from the base student cost to offset the new teachers that we'll need to serve those students. These are some of the goals that we've kind of worked through, and some are similar to last year. They're still in the books. We want to kind of share some of these priorities, and we've set them by goals for positive school climate. And this will be something that we'll be discussing, I guess, over the next month or so until we get into a public hearing and deciding what we can do or can't do. But I'll kind of go through these quickly because there's some of, this one's 2 positions here, SRO at District High and social worker for the district. These are some growth positions. Again, this doesn't include the teachers that we would need for growth. So this number is just for high student performance and growth positions for school support. And you can kind of see those for yourselves. The big ticket item is for Nexon Elementary. As we open schools, it costs about $1 million for an elementary school, 1.5 for middle, and on up for a high school, depending on how big it is. So those are kind of just average numbers. But that number is really for administration, new staff, custodian, equipment to some of the schools that will need for equipment. Just all those kind of utilities as well for the new schools. That'll all be going in the general fund budget, and that's one of the problems that Act 388 causes is when you're growing, you're not able to actually build a school, but you can't really run it. So there's been some school districts that actually have built brand new schools, and they kept them empty for a year, if not longer. So I forgot what school district did that, but that has happened. District level support, some needs for increasing school supplies. It would be student centered, but throwing increasing the school supplies, routing coordinator and head start supervisor in the bus area, diesel mechanic and administrative assistant and HR for $405,000. The big one, salary schedule, the step, we talked about that mandatory step, which is an average of 2%, some $5 million. And then we've had a lot of discussion about the increase in certified salary schedule for the teachers and trying to be competitive with our neighboring districts. Charleston has the higher of the two between them and Dorchester. So we've done some scenarios related to the salary schedule, and I've had Ryan in my office kind of work with some numbers, and so we kind of went in the middle of a $3 million increase for the teacher salary schedule. And I'll just kind of quote some numbers as far as what was and what could be, not what will be, but what could be. Tear it off so I can see it. So for example, and this is 14-15. So for example, for a beginning teacher, bachelor's degree at zero, $31,931. With the new scale, with that amount of money, it's $34,166, or a $22.35 increase, and that would get us within $490 of Charleston's.
Okay.
So overall, and so Ryan did this for each bachelor's plus 18, master's 13, doctors for all the employees in these different categories. So we were definitely underneath in the first 10 years. I think further on the salary schedule we're more competitive, but this was an effort to maybe come up with something that might be a work in progress over a couple of years to implement an increase in that salary schedule. So we wanted to kind of share that with you. I know we'd like to do more, but and perhaps if we were able to do some millage increase, we might be able to tie millage to this specific item. So this will be a discussion of some things we'll share as far as actual numbers on the salary schedule. But
Mr. Thomas, would
yes.
you please bring us some scenarios
Yes, yeah.
where we can do a little more than that?
Yeah.
And I understand the importance of the front end of the salary schedule.
Yeah.
But let's don't forget all those folks on the back end of that schedule either, who've been with us for many, many years.
Well, I'm on the back end of the schedule.
As am I.
But we wanted to focus on the first couple years, but you can't really touch a schedule without working with the whole schedule, because you get the potential of a 4-year person making about the same as a 5-year person if you don't do the whole scale. So we had to be fair all the way down. We did try to front load it without messing up the step percentages. So so we are working on that, and we'll show you some scenarios of what they look like for that one and more if you'd like. But it is I know it's a need, and we need to look at it seriously. So wanted to share that with you. These are all of those put together without the cost put together without the growth of new teachers related to student growth. So about $10 million. So our budget now is about $223 million. So you're looking at 234, 235. So we'll kind of have to work with, once we know more specific revenue numbers where the falls out. That's about a typical increase every year when we do a first iteration of the budget. It's usually about a $10 to $12 million increase in expenditures at the first iteration. So we'll move forward, kind of try to prioritize and match and try to get this thing balanced before June.
All right.
This might be a little hard to read because I was cutting and pasting from another slide. I wanted to share this with you. This is from the committee report where Dr. Thompson shared with you our rankings. You can see that other districts, comparison is a rating and their per pupil spending, but at the top, the state average is 9,791. So if you added all the districts, 82 school districts up, divided by 82, the average per pupil spending is 9,791. Ours is 8,513, or $1,278 a student. So if you were able to multiply that by 32,000 students, that's how much gap we have in being comparable to the average. So my calculator wouldn't go that high, but it's like 30-something million or 40 billion. So anyway, wanted to share that with you. District like ours, they may not be necessarily the same size, same demographics. related to population, related to free and reduced, related to special ed, is $9,114, so $500, $600 more than we spend. And the median is 94 something, so 94.15. So, in all categories of comparisons, we're bang for your buck kind of thing, but we also want to be competitive and providing our students in our school district with a top level education, and unfortunately, money kind of gets you there.
Right.
But we try to do it efficiently, so that's what I guess that's proving. But we would like to help increase that. So that's kind of a discussion point there. You mentioned the jobs bill. These are the links, and if you have this PowerPoint, you can go to it and read it. I've got some spreadsheets that I can share with you to show you all the different school districts and where they win and lose. And this is over the time that I've been doing this, there are a lot of new bills that come out, and what usually gets them is the hold harmless is too much, or this school district loses a whole bunch, and so they got more influence than somebody over here, so it just gets killed. Unfortunately, but I really like the concept of the equality of the millage. It simplifies the funding. The current funding system was started in 1979 or 77, but implemented in 79. So that's extremely old. That's when I graduated college, was 79. So, so something needs to be done. I think it needs to be looked at, and I hope they do something this year. The governor's idea of finance reform is not finance reform. She's just shifting from one source to another, so we get the same pot of money. We're not growing money. This does cause, for some increase in revenues through some tax exemptions being lifted, pretty significant. And so that's another area we'll get probably defeated, but we've got to at least try. Yep. But there's a links to exactly to those sites, and I can share spreadsheets that we have.
All right, thank you.
All right, any comments or questions for Mr. Thomas regarding tonight's budget update? Mr. Obie?
So you said you projected about a $10 million increase from this year's budget to put us at $234 million.
Yeah.
What are our projected revenues for the 2015, 2016?
Well, ours are, with what I shared on the revenue sources, they're about half of that, with the increase in the base student cost and the possible increasing of the mills for 2015-16, growth in the Act 388, and so we're about half there. So that where's the discussion that comes up about the catch-up millage, or we're going to have to look at not doing something or having to cut something or those kinds of things. So that's where the, I guess the negotiation and the priorities will have to be set to get it balanced.
So halfway there on the $10 million.
Yeah, right.
Which included
Plus or minus.
again, which included again, you said doing the millage increases and such?
For next year, just
Right.
for next year, but not the catch-up mills. So,
Okay.
so for example, if we were able to catch up
Yeah.
10 mills, that almost gets us there. So I'm glad I found out. It was a critical time to find out about it, and so we don't want to lose the opportunity to for that year to go off the books and never get recaptured. So.
And those other districts you showed up there where we were, ranked below them and getting more bang for our buck.
Yeah.
The reason why those other districts are spending more money is their millage is higher,
Correct.
so they're collecting more money.
There's some that ours is 142.9. There's some that are 250 plus. And,
Okay.
You got one that's 330.
And one's 330. But also
But a value-
too,
but
they since 2007 they've also enacted their Act 38 millage every year, and or before had done some things. So I don't know if you remember, I was reminding Dr. Murray earlier today about 2007 when Act 38 came about. We actually sued the South Carolina Department of Revenue,
Right.
and we won because it went to the state Supreme Court. We won, and we recouped about $4.5 million of backup pay, and then increased our base. So I'm glad we did that. The nice thing about that, the reason we did that, or the nice thing about that is after next fiscal year, those lease purchase payments go off the books. So we'll have an extra $3 million that we won't have to spend, but we have another year to wait for that. But that was a good outcome benefit of doing that.
But so then again, the value of a meal is different in every county, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And that's why they do that index of tax ability. They take all those assessments and index us at, for a state average of about, say, 75% of the base funding. So we get 75% of that 2220. We don't get 100% of that 2220. So the theory is this, the locals' taxes have to pick up the difference.
That, and I guess last question is, do we have any tax incentive districts rolling off the books anytime soon?
I think our biggest one was the Walmart.
Mhm.
Creek.
But there is a Goose Creek one.
It just rolled off. We've
Yeah.
got Hanahan in 2017 or 18.
Okay. That's what I remember.
That'll
Hannah.
help.
It's about
Yeah.
250,000
Yeah,
a year.
right. And our P and Lou's are growing because of that new ordinance that was enacted, so that's helping as well. So, I might be able to recognize some new revenue once we got our first P and Lou payment last week. So we'll get some more over the next couple months, and so once I see that number, I might be able to recognize some more money there.
Yeah, we're holding the local revenue at 0 right now until we
Yeah.
can verify an increase or a decrease.
Does that conclude your questions, Ms. Dovey, or comments? Anybody else? Ms. Lee, and then I'll come to you, Ms. Wabi.
I wanted to go back to your slide where Mr. Obi was just talking about the ratings, how we compare to other districts.
Mhm. That's the average cost per pupil slide, next
It
to
was-
last, I believe,
Yeah, I think it
not
was
counting the
last.
questions slide.
You don't have to go to it.
Well,
I
I just
want
can't see the
everybody to
mouse.
see this page
Oh, I agree
as
with
many
you.
times as possible. Mr. Superintendent, I would recommend that we put this on our district webpage on the front where we're flipping through photos because everybody needs to see this.
Agreed.
They need to know what they're getting in Berkeley County. And, I know that everybody hates it when taxes go up. I don't like it when my tax bill comes in and it's higher. My husband starts yelling at me. But this is what they're paying elsewhere in our state.
Sure.
And this money is going to education. So this is what people need to see. They need to see where we are and where everybody else is.
Right. Ms. Lee, I agree wholeheartedly. That's my comment to you as well, Mr. Thomas. That's what the cost per pupil provides us, is with a great measuring stick to see how we compare to other school districts with how much we're spending on average per child. We are way behind the average cost per pupil. I think it is a goal that can be achieved. I think it is an appropriate goal for us to begin working to get to the average cost per pupil. We're not asking for more than the average. I'm not asking for more than the average, but I do believe that Berkeley County children deserve at least the average cost per pupil. So I agree with you. Mr. Thomas, if you would continue to remind us of how far behind we are from the state average cost per pupil. Thank you, Ms.
All
Lee.
right, thank you.
Yeah, hold on, Ms. Wabi?
Well, I was going to make a comment about that chart and would just add to what Ms. Lee said about the fact also making sure that we're sharing this in every community meeting we possibly can, because I really don't think the general public knows and understands. The other piece about this with the salaries, all of this is connected, and I have a front row seat now of watching some of our our highest performing student teachers choosing other districts. They want to live in the low country, but they're certainly not going to be choosing Berkeley with that kind of gap with salary. I think we need to be very, very clear about not only those beginning teachers and that gap and the choices they're making, but the fact that with the new teacher evaluation, whatever chaos that's going to continue to create. And Dr. O'Gorman, has talked a lot to all of us about standards and not, our state really just making a mess of all of that. And teachers are carrying that burden with our district staff and figuring out how to keep all of our children moving forward. And I'm sure there are costs to that. And so I'm sure there are lots of conversations Dr. O'Gorman is having with Dr. Thompson and all of this staff about specifically what those changes and those mandates now are going to do to our budget. And so they have an impact on the teachers, and we know that. And so I'm hoping as a board we can really just laser in on some of these things based on what the staff recommends to Dr. Thompson and brings to us, because we need your input and we need your honest, unbridled input about this. We are not in a good place, and yet we have someone with this kind of mind that can help us figure out how to start closing these gaps and maybe even have sort of a long-term plan around this millage and being really smart about that. And we know the burden is going to be on us to explain it to the public. And so, I mean, I thank all of you, and I know it's not an easy work for any of you to do, but we need a lot of information as board members. And this is a great start.
Well, it's not done alone. I'd like to, thank Kelly and Denise. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on, so they help a lot as well. So I wanted to go back kind of quickly to the unused mill cap. One of the things that I'm not quite sure about is when we went through a reassessment for this year, we did use a portion of that, so I'm not sure. What I got to get clarification on is, am I supposed to use what the rollback millage said and use the percentage on that, or can I use what we moved it to? And it's a small difference, but I want to not be challenged by it. So,
absolutely. All right, any other questions or comments for Mr. Thomas? A lot of information. Hearing none, you've had a long day, sir, but you've served your district well. Thank you. Up next is Mr. Dion Jackson. Mr. Jackson has agenda item number 9, entitled Administration and Facilities. Mr. Jackson has both an item for action and an item for information this evening. Mr. Jackson, the podium's yours, sir.
Good evening, Chairman Murray, Dr. Thompson, members of the board. Following the board's approval of the 2015-2016 instructional calendar, on March 24th, the superintendent received a significant number of concerns regarding the newly adopted calendar. The majority of the concerns were in regards to the start of the winter holiday. Under the approved calendar, the winter break would begin December 23rd. The superintendent asked for an amended calendar to be created, which winter break begins on December 19th as an additional option. This is the calendar that was created. And as you will see, the major difference here is for winter break, where December 18th is the last day of school for students and the last day of school for teachers prior to the winter break. In addition to the amended calendar, a survey was created and administered to all Berkeley County School District instructional staff. A brief narrative was also included to outline the differences between the approved calendar and the amended calendar. Here is the survey. There were 1,492 submissions. There were 2 questions on the survey. What grade level do you represent? And which instructional calendar do you prefer? And overwhelmingly, the selection was for, the preference was for the amended calendar. So based on the survey results, it's the recommendation of the administration for the board to approve the amended 2015-2016 instructional calendar as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do I have a motion and a second regarding the administration's recommendation on the item for action 2015-2016 instructional calendar?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to approve the amended 2015-2016 instructional calendar as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McQuillan. Ms. Lee has made a motion to accept the amended instructional calendar for 2015-2016. Mr. McQuillan has seconded that motion. I will repeat the motion for the record before we open it up to discussion. Once again, a motion has been made to accept the administration's recommendation to approve the amended 2015-2016 instructional calendar as presented. Do we have any questions or comments before we call the question?
Got a question.
Mr. Obie.
2 questions. So if we gave back 2 days, that means we added 2 days to the second semester. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. And this is really a bad example for me to show you on here. Ms. Franchini, can you hand me that calendar, please?
So that's fine. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I got that. So then that also means too, as far as the semester goes for the high school schedule, I think if I saw it there correctly, the first semester was 43 days. So that means that means they lose 2 days of instruction time, but then gain 2 days of instruction time on the second semester to around 47, 48 days. Is that correct?
It would have to be more than that because it's a 180-day calendar, but it might be like an 86 versus 90.
It's
85 to 95. on the-
85 to 95, yes.
Mr. Dobie?
That's a big day gap.
Yes. You had a second question.
That was the second question
Oh.
on what the semester days were, what that gap was. So now it's 85, 95.
Yeah, it was 87, the prior calendar, 87, 93, now it's 85, 95.
And if I may.
Mr. Dobie, are you concluded with
Yeah,
your
that's
comments?
for right now. That's good.
All right. Ms. Schwaben?
So the feedback I've received is the benefits outweigh that difference. And the teachers obviously need to have a loud voice in this.
So the benefits of just a 2-day vacation versus.
No. I'm talking the feedback as I read it, and as we've done every year with these calendars. I think all of the educators in this district have to weigh the pros and cons. And it is not ever going to fall. I just want to say this because we have this conversation.
You have the microphone.
Every year. It's never going to be 90-90.
Well, I know
It
that's
is
gonna-
not. And so when you think about testing in the spring and all of those other things, it all comes out in the wash. And I have chosen to let this go and not stress about it anymore because our educators know what's best. And I really think we've continued to have conversations about the calendar where we've actually gotten in the way.
Well stated. Educators do know best. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Walford, Mr. Hayes, did you want to say something? Okay. Ms. Walford?
There are no requirements. I mean, there's not a 87-day requirement. We were just trying to space it out evenly. There's no requirement. We were trying to. As long as there's not a requirement, to me, you defer to the educator.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, the intent on the additional days was to have more time prior to exams.
Okay.
We haven't moved the exams, we just have 2 less days. We're still finishing the semester before Christmas.
Okay. Excellent.
Anything else? I want to give everybody an opportunity to speak. Mr. McQuillan, thank you, sir.
In addition to the survey, I mean, we did get a ton of emails from educators saying that they prefer the amended calendar. I know, Dr. Murray, you and I were on a good bit of them together, so I think this is the right thing to do.
I live with one as well, Mr. McQuillan. Now I can go home. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, let's call the question. A motion has been made to accept the administration's recommendation to approve the amended 2015-2016 calendar. Ms. Lee made that motion. It was seconded by Mr. McQuillan. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously 8-0. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. The administration's recommendation has been approved. Now for an item for information, communications update.
Yes, sir. This time I'd like to ask members of the Office of Communications and Community Engagement to please come up. As you know, just about every board meeting, you hear about the outstanding accomplishments of our students, our teachers, and our faculty and staff. The Office of Communications and Community Engagement is tasked with many responsibilities. One in particular is making sure that the information is publicized and that our story, the story of our students, our faculty, our staff, our teachers, is being effectively communicated to both internal and external audiences. Here this evening, on behalf of the Office of Communications, we have Jordan Hensley, our Public Relations Specialist. We have Chip Sturgis, our Public Information Officer. And we have Amy Murray, our Public Information Officer for Community Engagement. Okay. All right. Tonight, we'd like to present some of the information about our department and the projects that we're working on, and how we're effectively telling the district story. We tell our story through digital media, community engagement, and the release of public information. We have special recognitions at just about every board meeting, so you know just as well as I do that there's some great things, great stories to tell in regards to our story. Just really quick, this is a bulleted list of some of the highlights that our students and our staff have accomplished this year. Just to highlight a few, we've received our first excellent rating on the district's report card. We have 2 additional schools for a total of 4 schools now that have been recognized as National Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence. 15 schools received an excellent rating. The list goes on, and this is a very short list of all of our accomplishments. The next several slides will serve as an overview of what the district is doing in the 3 areas of digital media, community engagement, and the release of public information.
All right, good evening. So communicating effectively with all stakeholders using new and traditional tools is a district priority. So to do that, our office has embraced the age of technology and decided to invest our time and our energy into 3 major digital and social media platforms. The first of these is going to be Facebook. Now, currently, there are over 1 billion active Facebook members worldwide, and BCSD is among them, having 42 schools and departments actively updating their Facebook on a regular basis. Now, each Facebook page that is associated with our district is housed under the Berkeley County School District Facebook account, which I have the pleasure of logging onto every morning and checking out everyone's stuff. But the fact that it's housed under our account allows us to continuously monitor the sites and as well as their content, but also offer any assistance if problems within the schools arise with their Facebook profiles. The next, sorry about that. Yeah, perfect. The next social media tool that we're using is kind of new to our district. We're using Twitter. Now, the BCSD Twitter, which is at BCSD Schools, and if you haven't logged on and followed us, I would highly encourage you to do so, because that would make me very pleased tomorrow morning when I log on and check. But that Twitter is currently in a trial period, so that we can measure its effectiveness when we broadcast information to our community and to public members. Now, when an individual logs on and follows us on Twitter, they're going to see a variety of information. They're going to see information coming straight from the State Department and the South Carolina Department of Education. They're going to see reminders about important events, date changes, or announcements that we need to get out quickly. But they're also going to see articles that have been shared by us highlighting district accomplishments. Now, our third main digital media tool is our website. And just as was mentioned earlier about getting the financial ratings up on the main page, using our website is how we get the most information to our public online. So we can do this by rotating pictures, web articles, and spotlight stories. This, again, we can push information, share accomplishments, share information, and give any highlights that we need to give to our community. Now, each school has their own designated homepage to where they can also share information that is specific to their schools. Every summer, every school appoints a district Facebook administrator for their school, a webmaster, and a positive news liaison. And again, it is their job, it's kind of a volunteer job, to log on and update the information as necessary. Now, our office is currently working with the Office of Technology to update and redo and kind of make over our website so that it is truly representative of our excellent district. So through these 3 broad major digital and social media tools, we can better communicate with our community, but also keep them informed, ensuring that communication with our community remains a priority.
So along with digital media, we also have the focus in our office of community engagement. And here, of course, our goal is to build family, community, and business support that will generate advocacy for our schools as well as our district. So what exactly do we mean when we say community engagement? We mean engaging with our internal and external audiences to achieve our goals, district goals. So a few different ways that we do that. We do internal engagement, and one of them in particular is media liaison training. And here, of course, the priority is to continue to provide communication training for staff and personnel. So Jordan mentioned it a little earlier in the presentation, but every single school in the district has 1 or 2 media liaisons, and they are appointed by their school administrator to do this task. And basically, they gather up all of the positive news that's going on in their school, and they publicize it to local media. So back in October 27th, we actually had our training session at MNRIV, and about 45 media liaisons attended that. So what did they learn? First, they learned to create positive news email lists, and essentially these are media contact lists. And the purpose of those is to be able to quickly disseminate information, that positive news, to local media affiliates. And then they also learned to convey their role to the community, so each and every single school. And then to be aware of denial of release forms, which of course we know is very important because some information, some photos, some video cannot be released. They learn to receive and release positive news and photos, and then also to look for those good stories in their schools. We also engage our internal audience with district publications. And the first one, I'm sure you are all very familiar with as we present on them every second board meeting of the month. And like I always say, it's packed with positive information about the things that are happening in the district, whether it be student achievements or community partnerships. It's all in Legacy Builders. It's a awesome source of information for the positive things that are going on in the district. The next one is In the Loop. And this is really a comprehensive account of what happens at every board meeting. So if there's ever a time when you're not able to make the meeting, you can always go to In the Loop and stay in the loop. And last but not least is Fast Facts. And I think I can say with a lot of confidence that this particular publication is a one-stop shop for any information that you might need to know about the district. It includes the district's vision, mission, and goals, contact information for each and every school, all of your contact information, as well as crisis call-out scripts for anything from tornadoes to lockdowns. Any information that you might need would be in the Fast Facts publication. So moving on to external engagement. Stuff the Bus is the biggest campaign that our office hosts, really. And the goal here is to generate excitement for the beginning of the school year with our students and with their families. And then another goal is to strengthen those relationships that we have with our community and business partners. So this year we are in the implementation stages of Stuff the Bus. We have down in the bottom left corner, the golf tournament is scheduled for June 19th at Berkeley Country Club. And then we have Shaggin' Under the Stars, which will be at Santee Cooper on July 16th. And then, of course, Rally Day will be at the Monk's Corner and Goose Creek Walmarts on August 1st. Some other events that we have are Legacy Legends, and this is really an opportunity for us to honor former Berkeley County School District employees who have made a huge positive impact on the lives of students, faculty, and staff here in the district. And then also we have Turnaround Achievement Awards. And they were actually last Thursday at Westview Middle School. And this is a really awesome event because we get to recognize the students, many of which they've faced some pretty difficult challenges in their lives, but they've made the conscious decision to turn their lives around, literally. And so we recognize them as well. And we have a picture there of the Dragon Boats, because we partner with Dragon Boat Charleston for the field trip that the students go on in May.
Public information serves to inform, protect, and promote our students, staff, families, and community. This school year, we have had the full spectrum of events to share with the public. While working with local media outlets and community partners, interest in issues affecting Berkeley County schools has spread worldwide. We have celebrated our schools and employees' accomplishments and contributions and kept our students and families informed about special events and weather events that affect school schedules. And we have demonstrated our openness by providing many records to the media and other organizations. We ensure that the district remains in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act and Open Records Act. We have responded to 22 FOIA inquiries this academic year from private citizens, corporations, and media outlets. We make sure to follow the law to provide the maximum amount of disclosure of public records and also protect information shielded by these same laws. Many FOIA requests have touched on complicated issues. We have worked with experts to provide records, background information, and context to the requester. While following the law, we also get to interact with local law enforcement. We are always ready to respond to a simulated or actual crisis. We continue working with our emergency response partners to develop relationships and procedures. We share information with our communication peers in law enforcement to keep both agencies informed of progress during law enforcement operations. We ensure that families and community know about school illness risks, weather delays or cancellations, and transportation incidents. Every day we ask, how can we better inform our students, staff, family, and communities? Looking forward, we will continue to incorporate best practices from throughout the communications industry and our peer organizations to improve our performance and work with media.
We're also going to make sure to utilize our media outlets to continue to tell our story, the story of all the students, faculty, and staff in Berkeley County, and then also to monitor media analytics by using Meltwater.
And then lastly, other than creating and implementing a more user-friendly website, we're going to continue to investigate new and improved ways of communicating with our community, with our students, with our faculty, and with the Tri-County area. So those are our goals as an office moving forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was an outstanding presentation. Any questions or comments for Mr. Chip Sturgis, Miss Amy Murray, or Miss Jordan Hensley, our communications staff? Ms. Schwabe.
I just have one. I want to thank you all for all of your work with the turnaround. I was able to go again this year, and I think Mr. Hayes was there as well. Those stories about our students and the stories that they share, those that wanted to speak about their teachers and principals and their families, are just some of the most powerful. And I hope you'll think about even more ways to get those stories out. I will tell you, though, that I miss you did a beautiful job, Amy. But I miss the principals, standing up there and telling their stories. I know they get long-winded, and that's probably why you're not letting them talk. Not you, Mr. Husky, not ever. But I miss that part a little bit, because the families, I'm usually sitting with families, and it is so special to them, for their principals and teachers to be there with them. But thank you for that, and for not letting that go away. I don't know of any other school district that honors those children that way, and middle and high school. And if you haven't ever gotten to go, you need to go. It is incredible. But thank you for all of this information too, and what you do.
All right, well said. Any other questions or comments? Mr. McQuillan.
I just had a quick question on the Meltwater thing. I know that Dr. Thompson, you and I discussed board members getting kind of a snapshot of all the news each day that came out about the school district. Where are we on that? I don't know.
We are
ready to go. Okay, cool.
It's actually located, if you log into the portal, it'll be under admin services, and then you look in, you'll see communication, community engagement. They'll be on the left-hand side, and it's Meltwater Analytics. And it's really a scrolling tab of all of the stories that are
Okay.
about us.
And then I guess my second question was, one suggestion is we had an awesome presentation on the Philip Simmons School at the March 10th meeting.
It was.
But there were like 2 people that I knew of that were in the audience that saw it. And so one of the things I think we ought to do, because we're going to change attendance lines and people are going to get fired up about that. One of the things I'd like to see y'all do is to go out into the community and show off that school before we make those decisions, because it really is going to be an awesome school. And so that's just a suggestion, but if we could find a couple neutral sites and have some meetings where parents could come attend and see how great the school's going to be, I think that would be helpful, and it would make our decisions easier too when we're figuring out where we're going to draw lines.
I agree with you, Mr. McQuillan. That was an excellent presentation. It blew me away. And let's keep in mind that we can ask our contractors, our architects, to come and present that outstanding PowerPoint. I think that's a great idea.
Already in the planning phase.
Good job. Good job. Good job. Any other questions or comments? one question from me to the board. Am I the only one that doesn't know what meltwater is? Because I feel like a dinosaur. Thank you, Miss Lee. You make me feel better. Mr. Sturgis, Miss Murray, Miss Hensley, you guys are outstanding. I think your superintendent wants to say something, but I thought your presentation was excellent, and I hope you'll continue to build our communications ability. Thank you. Dr. Thompson?
I just want to say thank you for the wonderful presentation and the hard work over the last couple of weeks. I know you guys have been running, but it's a pleasure to watch you guys grow. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Outstanding. All right. Does that conclude your presentation, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
All right. On to the superintendent's report, of course, minus the news that Mr. Thomas saved us a great deal of money. Dr. Thompson, the microphone's yours, sir.
Thank you. We have a couple of items tonight, one for action and one for information. Before I bring up Dr. McLaren for our item of action, I would just like to congratulate our staff members that raised over $152,000 for a Trident United Way campaign. Additionally, our students, I believe, raised $11,000 for the Trident United Way campaign. So Berkeley County School District will be sending $163,000 to the Trident United Way to help support local projects. So thanks to all our folks that helped with that gave back to their community. And I'd like to, from the district perspective, I'd like to thank Dr. Levine and Shelley Green and Archie Franchini for organizing those efforts this year. And I guess we'll pass the torch to someone else next year, Dr. Levine, so looking forward to that. Dr. McLaren, we have an item for action tonight. We have the promise proclamation. Safety Officer Tim Knight's here, and I see one of our school resource officers, Travis Dodd, is here. Thank you for attending. And I know they do a lot of programs in the schools during prom season to promote safety for our students. I can remember as a principal, the prom was probably the hardest night for me, because when you left the prom, you could not go to sleep until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock next day when you knew all your students were home safe. So, Dr. McLaren, you have your proclamation.
I do. Dr. Thompson, Chairman Murray, members of the board. Underage drinking is a national public health issue with serious implications. Although we have accomplished so much in Berkeley County to address this pervasive problem, there is still much more we can do. According to a study by the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, an estimated 10 million people younger than the age of 21 drank alcohol in the past month in the United States. However, many young people start drinking before the age of 15. The Monitoring the Future survey found that 70% of 12th graders in the United States had tried alcohol at some time in their lives. The survey also found that 27% of 10th graders said that they had consumed alcohol in the 30-day period before the survey. Whereas underage drinking has severe consequences, many of which parents and caregivers may not be fully aware, consequences of underage drinking may include injury or death from accidents, unintended, unwanted, and unprotected sexual activity, academic problems, and drug use. And whereas parents and caregivers have a significant influence on young people's decisions about alcohol consumption, especially when they create supportive and nurturing alcohol-free environments. And whereas youth who start drinking before the age of 15 are 5 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence or abuse later in life than those who begin drinking at or after the age of 21. And whereas alcohol use by young people is dangerous, not only because of the risks associated with acute impairment, but also because of the grave threat to their long-term development and well-being. And whereas parents, educators, and community leaders who work with our young people every day are our best advocates for responsible decision-making. And whereas high schools within the county are preparing for their junior and senior proms, with Timberland High School on April 11th, Berkeley High School on April 17th, Goose Creek High School on April 24th, Stratford High School on April 25th, Berkeley Middle College High School on April 25th, Hanahan High School on May 1st, Cross High School on May 2nd, and Cane Bay High School on May 16th, 2015. Therefore, be it resolved that the Berkeley County School District Board of Education formally designates April 1st through May 31st, 2015 as Underage Drinking Prevention and Awareness Months in Berkeley County.
Mr. Chair, the district administration recommends the approval of the proclamation presented by Dr. McLaren.
We thank you, Dr. McLaren. We thank you, Dr. Thompson. Do we have a motion and a second regarding the prom proclamation?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the administration's recommendation proclaiming April and May as Underage Drinking Prevention and Awareness Months in Berkeley County School District as presented in Agenda Item 10A.
Thank you, Mrs. Walford. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. McQuillan, thank you. What an excellent motion, and thank you again for the second. All those in favor of the prom proclamation as presented by the administration, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. I must ask the question, but I know the answer. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. McLaren. Thank you to our SROs, Mr. Knight, Mr. Travis Dodd, who's very important in our community. Thank you for looking out for our kids. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
All right, and thank you, Dr. Murray. And my last item from information, we have our quarterly teacher forum report. But this is a sad day for us as well, because I think that it may be the last time that Stephanie Wallace will be part of the teacher forum leadership. But we welcome you anytime that you need to represent the teachers at the table, Stephanie. So we thank you for your service over the last couple of years and the relationship that you've helped us strengthen that relationship between the district and the teachers, and we appreciate your service.
You're stealing some of my material now.
Dr. Murray does that to me all the time.
I'm guilty. Ms. Wallace, the microphone is yours, and we certainly have been blessed to have you as our teacher forum representative. You've been outstanding. So
Thank you very much.
we look forward to hearing from you.
Well, I know it's been a long evening, but Chairman Murray, Dr. Thompson, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm honored to be here on behalf of Teacher Forum and update you on some of the hard work and accomplishments of our amazing teacher leaders. When I began this journey as forum chair this year, I had really hoped to help shift some mindsets so that all of our forum members and beyond would see just how valuable teacher leadership is and how valuable our voices are. I also wanted everyone to see how our work can be a get to and not a have to. You know, we work long hours, but the things that we can accomplish together really do feel like a get to and not a have to. So as I revisit our shared vision and reflect on this year, I'm very excited and proud of everything that our forum committees have accomplished thus far, and just want to share a little bit of that with you. So our communications committee really had strived to increase our communications and to positively promote the forum across the district. And so they created the publication, the Teacher Forum Focus, and we would like to thank the Office of Communications for all they do to help us get that out. And we've heard some very positive feedback from teachers who say they never knew that a forum existed or never really knew what our forum did. So I think this has been a positive addition. Also, just being able to communicate through these board updates have been wonderful, and we thank you for inviting us to do that. Our Curriculum and Instruction Committee has been working hard to compile a bank of resources to help support our teachers as they prepare students for the Aspire assessment. We put that link out recently, and they're adding more to the site this week and hoping to send that out again. So that's a great way to help support our teachers. And this committee just continues to collaborate with Dr. O'Gorman and his staff. Dr. O'Gorman and Ms. Calcutt have just been wonderful at giving us information and seeking our feedback. And I know we will continue to do that with the curriculum feedback and revisions that we have in our near future. Our technology committee, they sent out a survey earlier in the year just to collect some feedback from teachers about the apps that they are using themselves and both with their students to try to help make the app catalog the most organized and user-friendly it can be for our teachers. And so they are also collaborating with Diane Driggers and her team. And we are excited that we're trying to get a teacher advisory group in place to help support Ms. Driggers' initiatives and be another avenue for feedback straight from the classrooms. Our Climate and Morale Committee, there are our sunshine and our warm fuzzies that are always trying to help make sure that we are providing that positive climate, and we're trying to boost morale as much as we can, especially during stressful years with as much as we have on our plates right now. They have just put together kind of an idea bank that they've shared with all the forum members to take back to their schools. We know every school is different and the way that they want to implement things to boost morale. Some of the things they put together were a teacher's favorite things sheet where teachers could fill those out, and they could be housed in the front office for staff members or parents who are wanting just to celebrate our teachers in a certain way could access that easily, as well as just birthday charts and things to help us find little ways to celebrate our teachers. With our Political Action Committee, I would say this is a small committee, and they call themselves the Sticky Committee because they know just how sticky this can be. But they have also just really worked to try to help better educate our teachers and just inform them of our current issues and just who they would contact when they need to contact their legislators. They want to do more, and so we are working to recruit more members for that committee in the future and find the most effective and appropriate ways that we can continue to advocate. Our Special Events Committee has been very busy with our Teacher of the Year season, and it was very successful with our board recognition night and our induction ceremony. They do such an awesome job of making these events outstanding and making our teachers feel special. So we're so fortunate for all of their creative ideas and hard work. And then we have our Teacher Recruitment and Retention Committee, who works hard at the beginning of the year to help collect supplies at each school for all of our Pride teachers, all of our first-year teachers. They also put together this year a brochure with all of the forum members and what we teach and where we are to help those teachers who may be the lone person at their school in that content area or that grade levels as just another means of support to reach out for additional support. So also, they always do a great job of collaborating with Shelley Green with the Teacher Recruitment Fair. And they love to go and just be cheerleaders for our district and help recruit those amazing teachers. They are still working to get a forum scholarship off the ground to support some PD opportunities, as well as wanting to do more with reaching out and collaborating with our local colleges, so that they still are hoping to revisit at our upcoming summer retreat and look at the best ways to go about that. We continue to be so thankful for and appreciative for the strengthened relationships and the increased collaboration between the forum, the district administration, and the board. I know in December, Lauren shared many of the district committees that we've been a part of, from advanced ed to the instructional calendar to the curriculum evaluation, and of course being invited to be right here at this table at every meeting. We look forward to continuing those efforts and to future opportunities, especially with as many changes and challenges that are upon us. So what are our next steps? Of course, it's all about that continuous improvement process. So a few of the things that we are looking at now is we are revisiting our advisory group or our advisory board for forum. In the past, just with the way that it rolls over every year with past Teachers of the Year rolling out and new ones rolling in, we have inconsistency with advisory. And so we are really looking at ways now that we can build capacity and maintain some consistency with a consistent advisory board. We are also in the process of updating and revising our bylaws to better align with our vision and our current needs. We are reviewing bylaws from forums across the state, and that has been very helpful just to get new perspectives and new ideas from what other forums are doing. I would say our biggest undertaking for this next year, and I know Lauren's very excited, would be our instructional fair redesign. After lots of conversations and feedback, we want to maintain the tradition of the instructional fair, but while better meeting the needs and the new mandates that are being placed on teachers and principals with Read to Succeed, new standards, assessments, new teacher evaluation. We want to maximize our time on that day, but we also want to honor that teachers all the time are reaching out to us and saying that they love the opportunity to collaborate outside of their schools. So this is going to be a huge focus of the summer planning retreat, and we're very open to ideas from teachers, principals, administration, just on how we can keep it a day for teachers by teachers and also make the best use of our time. And again, Lauren has done a great job of collaborating with forum leaders across the state this year who have their own spins on instructional fairs and just the way that they're doing things. So there'll be much more to come after our summer planning retreat, which is scheduled for June 22nd and 23rd. And I know Lauren and I will get more information out to you soon about those dates. But as I am getting ready to pass the gavel officially off to Lauren in 2 weeks, I just have to share how blessed I feel. Sorry, I'm not going to get emotional. For all of the opportunities that I've had. I've learned so much from my teachers and from most of you in this room. I'm forever grateful, so please know that. And I know that many wonderful things are in store for Forum under Lauren's leadership, and I'm excited to be a part of that. So if there are any questions or suggestions, I'll be happy to take them. And again, thank you so much for all you do to support and encourage me and my fellow teachers.
Ms. Wallace, may we go ahead, Dr. Thompson?
Just standing.
I would like to recognize her as well. We wanted to recognize.
No. Not necessary.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
necessary at all.
Yes, it is, Ms. Wallace. You have been absolutely outstanding, and we're so appreciative of your work, and we're going to miss you greatly, but we know you're handing that torch off to another wonderful teacher. And of course, we all know that our teachers are the heart of this district. So I'll open it up to the board. If anyone would like to have anything they'd like to say to Ms. Wallace, now would be a good time. Ms. Walford? We can come back to
I
you.
would say I'm a crier. I have the pleasure of knowing how much energy Miss Wallace puts in with first and second graders every day, because Mike Keller is in Miss Walford's in Miss Wallace's class. But I don't know how she does all this and keeps up with first and second graders, because there is not, I don't know if you've ever visited Miss Wallace's class, but it is the most interactive, organized chaos I've ever seen.
Great way to put it.
That's
how I describe it every day.
Where children are getting to make choices about how they're learning, and they really just lock in. So I don't know how you do this at night and do that during the day. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I've got a first grader reading on 5th, 6th grade level. It's amazing who knows all of his multiplication tables. So to just do what you do is hard work, but to do that and be that energetic in the classroom is just amazing. So I appreciate you so much, and thank you for all of your hard work.
Well said, well said. I know how she does it. Before I turn the microphone over to Ms. Schwabe, she's Superwoman. That's how she does it. Mrs. Schwabe.
I just want to publicly thank you. I don't think we could ever thank you enough for being a model for the teachers that do work very, very hard all day long and then put in all of these extra hours because you're thinking of other teachers and those who may be struggling or needing things, and being so willing to share your expertise and your experience. We are better for you and your leadership of the forum, and I thank you too.
Hear, 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 hear. You'll always have our ears. Always. Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Yes. Dr. Thompson, anything else?
That concludes my report. Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Real quick, prior to going into executive session, and Mr. Hayes, please forgive me for putting you on the spot, but did you want to give the audience just a real quick snapshot into what we will be beginning tomorrow as a school board?
Okay. I've been in touch with Bill Simons, who is the head of the committee with BWP. they're on their way here basically right now, and they'll be here tomorrow, and they'll be bringing with them approximately 7 names of people that they recommend us to start looking into further. And this is out of 90 plus applicants for the position of superintendent here that they received. So tomorrow night, we start trying to narrow it down. We hope to maybe tomorrow night get it down to around 5 that we will bring in to interview in the near future. And then we will try to narrow that down to 3. And when we get it down to 3, all of you all will know about it. And you'll have the opportunity to get to know these people. And hopefully, if everything works the way we hope it does, you'll have some input into helping us make our final decision as to the new superintendent. And we hope that this person will be on board end of May, early June. So that's about where we are right now.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Thank you to you and your committee. It's been outstanding, and I know we're just at the beginning, but we're going to make a great selection. All right, with that said, we'll move to agenda item 11, executive session. Tonight's executive session will serve the purposes of hearing student attendance appeals, student expulsion appeals, personnel considerations, and contractual matters regarding BWP and Associates and the superintendent's contract. With those stated reasons, do I have a motion and a second to move into executive session?
Mr. Chair, I move that we move into executive session.
Thank you, Ms. Walford. Second, Mr. McQuillan, thank you, sir. All those in favor of moving into executive session, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. We stand in executive session.